Well, thank you for having me here. Thank you for the Explorer Club for the invitation. I'm delighted to be here today talking about the crab-cracking capuchins living in the mangroves of Brazil. I'm not sure if my videos are going to play. If not, if somebody could help me with, Let's talk about culture first. So what is culture? Culture is socially transmitted, and it persists within a population over time, and it's largely context-dependent. So what you are seeing here, it's the capuchins using stone tools when they need to crack open the nuts, and when they need to extract the insets, they use sticks. So this is provided by their environment. So well, the environment provides this context, but the social structure, it's very, very important for them to learn with the adults. So what you are seeing here is a young, or a capuchin since a very young age, learn how to become a skilled tool user. So they manipulate the tools, and then over time, they can become skilled tool users. This culture in primates is critical for us to understand the development of human cognition, social behavior, and technological advancements. So it's interesting to see here how the monkey or the individual it seems to understand that using leverage, it can increase the force. And if you did not notice, they do sleep in caves and use the caves for protection. It's kind of very close to home. But what allowed these capuchins doing that is their cognitive abilities, their behavioral flexibility, their extended maturation, just like us, their brain developed to mature, and large brain size make them more similar to apes and humans than any other monkey. So very recently, we discovered that the capuchins use tools in mangroves. Well, mangrove is not an easy environment. This is the first footage, one of the first footages that we were able to identify that they can select the tool themselves, and you understand in a minute why I'm saying this is a natural tool use, to crack open the crabs. So in the mangroves, these animals are even more remarkable. So unlike any other primates, they live only within mangroves. That means that other primates do live in mangroves, but they commute between mangroves and other forests. These monkeys don't. They are trapped in only mangroves. So they eat crabs as their main food source. Other primates do as well, but they also use other sources. For them, crabs is their main source. And they are among the few primates that use tools. Again, 3 characteristics that primate societies have, but we can find in one species in Brazil. And you are seeing here is a 41. He's ambushing a crab. Once the crab comes out of the mud flat, it jumps, he will jump and will catch the crab. The problem is that we still did not figure it out how to put the correct angle and the correct equipment to work in mangroves. The equipment in mangroves get old very, very fast, and because of the ties. But we are planning to get this very soon. So what we are seeing here too, it's an experimental test that we run there to understand what makes these monkeys that can crack the crab with their hands using tools to open them? Well, actually, the size of the tools they selected is related with the size of the claws of the crab and not the crab per se. It's just like us. When you go to a restaurant, you may be able to open the crab with your hands, but we use the tools to crack open the claws. That's what they do. Maybe the meat, they are just like humans. The meat in the claws are more palatable, or they have a high nutritional value, but that's what they do. They use the tools to open the claws of the crabs. Our challenge is that in the mangroves of Maranhão in Brazil, the sustainability of the forest and the crab, it's unknown. So for us to continue a long-term study with these primates to understand how they are able to survive in the mangroves, we need to understand the sustainability of the environment. So while the last decade has shown incredible advancement in understanding animal culture, it also comes in a period that the humans are more and more devastating the environment. We have a lot of habitat loss. So here's the area that I work. It's the northeast of Brazil, the state of Maranhão, and it's one of the poorest part of the country, which means that this crab and tourism is a very important aspect in this for poverty, for income, for the community income in this area. So from 1987 to 2017, we ran a model that showed that we were losing mangroves. Well, this is a pattern that you can see globally. Every time you do some analysis with mangroves, it's very rare to find that the mangroves increase. It's actually always decrease. But what was scared for us is that my predictive model showed that by 2034, less than 50% of the mangroves islands will resist. And if this happens, these capuchins will not have resources to stay in this area. So we needed to understand better what was going on there. So thanks to the Explorer Club, we were able to use a fixed-wing drones to collect a very high-resolution imagery. Actually, was the highest resolution imagery ever collected in the mangroves of Maranhão. So, and with this, we were able to show very important details that we could not see in Landsat or images that were middle resolution images. We saw some of the intrusion of now buildings within the mangroves. So this very detailed type of changes that we were able to detect, obviously our numbers show that with the mud flat is going down, the sand is going up, mangroves are a losing area. But this type of activity allowed the intrusion of sandy into the mud flats. So once you have sandy into the mud flat, the crabs don't grow anymore. They don't develop anymore. They are now very small. And we don't have the same amount that we had in 2018, for example. Those are just like not too far away. And now, the sand intrusion, it's increasing the problem of, the black mangrove trees actually lose also individuals, not the species. The species, the black mangrove trees are there, but we also found that they are losing individuals, which for this project, it's very important because the black mangroves are the tallest trees in this area, and the primates use as sleeping sites. So, and why the sleeping sites are important? Because we are refining a method, we need to count. How many groups do we have in the mangroves? How many groups do we have everywhere? So now they are surviving very small patches of forest. So we develop a method like this. Just like Jenny Goodall, I'm not comparing myself, but we do follow the monkeys all day long, and then once they stop to sleep, we got GPS points, collected the GPS points, brought it back to the research base, and then we have to wait. Remember, we are working in the tropics. It's very, very hot. And what we are seeing here is a thermal camera that once we fly at night, we need to wait the vegetation to drop the temperature to be able to collect the capuchin sleeping heat signature. Here, because it's very hot, the soil still responds as a heat area, which also is a problem if you are working with thermal camera that's not high resolution. But in this case, we were lucky enough to be able to use a high resolution camera. And then, because we know where they were sleeping, as a proof of concept, we count the numbers of the capuchins, and we had 37 individuals sleeping in this area. This is a little different than what you see when you look for a quadricopter flying around following a lion, for example. Our goal was to measure the stationary aspect of the heat signature. So now we know when the forest drops the temperature, the body temperature of the monkeys will respond to this thermal camera that we are using. Those are 37 individuals, and just like any capuchin group, they have peripheral ones that sleeps around the main group. We have about 20 here, 10 here, 2 here. So we were really, really happy that we are able to prove that we can now count monkeys on the top of the trees. And then we can have an idea how many groups we have living in every mangrove island. So during this process, this project took 2 years to be completed. During this process, we were able to select factors that were affecting the food availability for the capuchin monkeys. Here is, again, because the sand intrusion in the muddy flats decreased the crab abundance, and the crab consumption has increased due to tourism activity, we now have a little conflict between the fishermen and the capuchins that are fighting for the same resources. And then we do have unregulated tourism in the area. So those activities affect the way the culture of the capuchins is transmitted because the humans provide easy to find food for these capuchins. And once they learn, instead to observe the adults to crack open the crabs, now they are observing the adults stealing food or waiting for the tourism in the morning to give them food. So this is affecting the cultural behavior of these capuchins. But, just capuchin in mangroves is just a charismatic species that it draws attention to a much larger problem. So I cannot even imagine if Jenny Goodall had not started this research 60 years ago, how we would be, because approximately 68% of all primate species are under threat due to anthropogenic pressures and habitat transformation. So by providing food for these capuchins, we are also, or any other primate, we are talking about healthy issues as well. So it's the trade-off of removing high-quality, high-energy food and give them high-sugar, high-fat, human convenience food. So this is a problem everywhere. And if the capuchins don't melt your heart, let's think about humans. So mangroves are really important protection for us in the coastal environment. So the loss of mangroves increase the coastal erosion, decrease the detection from natural disasters. That mangrove protects the coast and your houses and your life from natural disaster, reduce fishery productivity, which is food security for many communities that are dependable from food from the coast. And obviously, there are fewer safer spaces for wildlife globally. It is not an easy place to work, right? So that's why we know very, very little what's happening with mammals within mangroves. There are a lot of theories that now mammals are using mangrove as refugees, so they can be there just safe from us because it's difficult for humans to walk there. And those are just some of the footage that we got in our mangrove island. Our dream was to follow the monkeys, but in the mangroves, the monkeys go and we stay in the mud. So we had to use camera traps, and we're able to get much more mammals than we expected to find there. Well, and just as understand how these capuchins use their skills and survive in mangroves. It helps us to comprehend the development of human intelligence and problem-solving abilities. So if we don't understand there are a lot of communities that evolved in coastal areas, but we don't know too much about them. The soils in that areas and the way the tools were they disappear because of the acidity of the soil. It's very fast to lose. So by looking our close relatives, we may learn a lot about ourselves. Another important aspect of this group is that the adults are very tolerant with juveniles. That's how the juveniles learn how to transmit the culture to each other. It doesn't matter if they are the parents. The parents obviously are more tolerant with the juveniles, but any adult that is a skilled tool user that's how this is transmitted. And when I say tolerant, it's because capuchins, sometimes they don't like to share food, right? So an adult shares food with juveniles and infants, but they rarely do with another adult. So by observing the adults, these juveniles learn how to use the tools and keep the tradition going within the mangroves. So just to finalize, I would say that it's imperative for us to conserve the behavior of a species. It's important because once the behavior is gone, we are going to lose invaluable insights about how humans evolved in coastal environments. If you are a conservationist, if you are doing conservation plans, think about to add to your plan the conservation of behavior of wildlife, but particular to non-human primates. Because once this behavior is gone, we will probably never know what was happening there. We will never understand how these animals were living in the mangroves. Well, with this, I would like to thank, oh, here it is. This is an infant capuchin. We cut the video, but while he was looking at it, the mom was playing with the other camera. So I would like to thank the Explorer Club for making this research possible. And if you have any questions, just email me. Thank you so much for your attention.